Imagine a warship so massive that it's like a floating city, carrying dozens of aircraft, thousands of sailors, and weapons capable of striking targets hundreds of miles away. Now think about this. Who actually owns these giants, and how many does each country have? You might assume that only a handful of countries operate such ships, but the truth is more interesting and sometimes surprising. Aircraft carriers are not just warships, they are symbols of national power and influence. They allow countries to project strength far beyond their borders and can even change the balance of power in a region. Today, we're going to start our journey by exploring these incredible vessels, starting with the country that has more than anyone else. The story begins with the United States, which dominates the world's aircraft carrier landscape. The U.S. Navy operates a fleet of nuclear-powered carriers, each larger than most cities' tallest buildings are long. These ships are equipped with jets, helicopters, missiles, and advanced radar systems. But a carrier doesn't sail alone. It moves with a strike group made up of destroyers, cruisers, and submarines, forming a protective shield around it. This setup ensures the carrier is never vulnerable, allowing it to focus on launching aircraft and projecting power wherever needed. The sheer size, technology, and planning involved make the U.S. fleet unmatched in history. For many Americans, these carriers are more than military assets. They are national icons, floating representations of the country's ability to influence events across the globe. But not every country can maintain such massive vessels. The cost of building, maintaining, and staffing an aircraft carrier is enormous. Thousands of trained sailors are required to operate the ship, while pilots and support personnel keep the aircraft ready for action. Fuel, maintenance, and logistics are constant challenges. That's why only a few countries invest in them, and why those who do are often seen as major naval powers. Aircraft carriers allow countries to project strength without having to be physically present on land. They can strike far away, support allies, and defend sea routes that are crucial for trade and national security. Interestingly, the importance of an aircraft carrier isn't just about military might. It's also about strategy and influence. A single carrier passing through international waters can serve as a strong message to both allies and potential rivals. Its presence signals capability, readiness, and a willingness to act if needed. For countries with global ambitions, carriers are essential tools, allowing them to participate in humanitarian missions, support military operations, or deter conflicts simply by being there. Even one aircraft carrier can dramatically increase a nation's naval presence, while multiple carriers allow for flexibility, rapid response, and a persistent influence in critical regions. As we continue this journey, we'll explore which countries have carriers, how many they operate, and what makes each fleet unique. From nations with only one carrier to superpowers with multiple floating fortresses, the story of aircraft carriers is a story of strategy, technology, and power projection. So buckle up, because the world of aircraft carriers is far bigger, more complex, and more fascinating than most people realize. And it all starts with the incredible ships themselves. After exploring the dominance of the United States, it's time to look at other major powers and their aircraft carriers. These countries may not have as many carriers as the U.S., but the ships they operate are still impressive and strategically important. China, for example, has been rapidly expanding its carrier fleet over the past decade. The country started with one carrier, the Liaoning, which was initially purchased and refurbished from Ukraine. But in recent years, China has built its own carriers from scratch, showing that it is serious about increasing its influence in the Asia-Pacific region. Each new carrier is more advanced than the last, equipped with modern aircraft, catapult systems, and technology that allows for faster launch and recovery of planes. This rapid expansion signals China's desire to protect its growing maritime interests and to compete with established naval powers. The United Kingdom, another major naval power, operates the Queen Elizabeth-class carriers. These ships are modern, technologically advanced, and designed for flexibility. While smaller than U.S. carriers, they are capable of launching a wide variety of aircraft, including fighter jets and helicopters. The UK relies on these carriers not only for military missions, but also for humanitarian assistance, disaster response, and international operations. Similarly, France maintains its pride, the nuclear-powered Charles de Gaulle, Unlike most carriers in the world, this vessel uses nuclear energy to operate, giving it incredible endurance and power. It has been involved in multiple international missions projecting French influence across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. France shows that even a single carrier, if advanced and properly maintained, can be a major tool of national power. India is another country investing in aircraft carriers to strengthen regional influence. Its current fleet includes INS Vikramaditya, and the country is in the process of building new carriers to expand its naval reach. India uses these ships to protect its interests in the Indian Ocean, support maritime trade routes, and maintain a strategic balance in a region with the increasing geopolitical competition. For India, carriers are not just about military power. They are a statement of national capability and ambition, signaling that it is a country capable of defending its maritime interests on a larger scale. Other countries operate smaller carriers or helicopter carriers, like Italy, Spain, and Japan. While these ships may not match the size or power of American or Chinese carriers, they serve critical roles in their country's defense and regional influence. Italy and Spain have ships capable of carrying aircraft and helicopters, allowing them to participate in international missions and respond to crises. Japan, with its recent conversion of helicopter carriers to operate fixed-wing aircraft, is strengthening its maritime defense and regional deterrence. These nations show that aircraft carriers are not exclusively for superpowers. Even medium-sized navies can gain significant strategic advantages by operating them. In short, while the United States leads the world in carrier numbers, many other countries understand the importance of these ships and invest in them according to their needs and resources. The differences in fleet size, technology, and strategy make each country's approach unique. Aircraft carriers are not only powerful tools of war, but also symbols of national pride, strategy, and global presence. While some countries invest heavily in aircraft carriers, many nations do not operate any at all, even if they maintain strong navies. Aircraft carriers are extremely expensive, both to build and to maintain, and they require thousands of highly trained personnel. A country must not only pay for the ship itself, but also for its aircraft, fuel, maintenance, and the supporting fleet of destroyers, frigates, and submarines that protect it. For smaller or mid-sized countries, investing in a carrier may not make strategic sense because their defense priorities are more regional rather than global. Instead, these countries often focus on submarines, smaller warships, or missile systems that are more cost-effective but still capable of defending their waters. Take Germany, for example. It operates a modern navy with advanced ships, submarines, and aircraft, but it has never invested in an aircraft carrier. Its defense strategy emphasizes regional protection, international cooperation, and participation in NATO operations, where carriers from allied nations can provide additional support if needed. Similarly, Canada focuses on frigates, patrol vessels, and submarines. While it participates in international missions, it does not rely on carriers to project power across oceans. Brazil has historically operated carriers, but found maintaining them extremely costly and technically challenging. Today, Brazil has shifted its focus to smaller ships and regional naval dominance. These examples show that having a carrier is not essential for every navy. Strategy, geography, and budget determine what makes sense for each country. Aircraft carriers are also not just about firepower. They represent global influence and political presence. Countries without carriers can still participate in international operations by partnering with allies who do operate them. This reliance on alliances allows smaller navies to project some influence without the enormous financial and logistical burden of maintaining a carrier fleet. At the same time, the existence of carriers in other countries can shape regional dynamics. A single US, British, or French carrier operating in a region can influence the decisions of countries without carriers, demonstrating that power projection often depends on presence rather than action. Even though carriers are symbols of unmatched naval strength, they are not the only way to maintain security or influence. Modern military technology allows smaller nations to defend themselves with submarines, missile systems, or even drones, sometimes effectively countering the advantages of larger carrier fleets. Carriers are most useful for countries with global ambitions, those wanting to influence distant waters or participate in international crises. For nations focused on regional defense or cost-effective strategies, carriers may be unnecessary or impractical. Ultimately, the countries that choose not to operate aircraft carriers do so because their needs, strategies, and resources differ. A carrier is not just a ship, it is a massive commitment of money, technology, and manpower. Understanding why some countries have them and others do not helps explain the diversity in naval strategies around the world. While carriers are iconic symbols of power, they are just one piece of the broader puzzle of global naval balance. Looking ahead, the future of aircraft carriers is both exciting and unpredictable. Navies around the world are investing in new technologies, from drones and stealth aircraft to smaller, faster, and more flexible carriers. Countries like China and India continue to expand their fleets, building carriers that are bigger, more advanced, and capable of operating a wider variety of aircraft. At the same time, the United States is upgrading its existing carriers with state-of-the-art systems, including advanced radar, defensive weapons, and the latest jets. These improvements allow carriers to remain relevant in modern warfare, even as new threats emerge, such as long-range missiles, cyber attacks, and unmanned vehicles. Emerging naval powers are also thinking differently about carriers. Some smaller nations are exploring alternatives to massive traditional carriers. They are investing in light aircraft carriers, helicopter carriers, or even drone carriers that can launch unmanned aircraft. These vessels are less expensive to build and operate, but still provide the ability to project power in a strategic way. While they cannot match the size and firepower of a US or Chinese carrier, they offer flexibility and speed, allowing smaller navies to participate meaningfully in regional or international operations. The innovation in carrier design is making this type of naval power more accessible, while also changing the way countries think about controlling the seas. Despite these changes, aircraft carriers remain the ultimate symbol of naval dominance. Whoever controls a fleet of carriers can influence global trade routes, respond quickly to crises anywhere in the world, and shape international military strategy. Countries with multiple carriers enjoy the ability to operate in different oceans at the same time, projecting strength without relying on foreign bases. Even a single carrier can alter a region's balance of power, signaling to allies and rivals alike that a country is capable of defending its interests far beyond its own coastline. The presence of carriers is often enough to deter conflict without firing a single weapon, showing that power projection is as much about perception as it is about firepower. The evolution of carriers also reflects broader trends in military strategy and geopolitics. Nations are increasingly combining traditional naval strength with new technologies, emphasizing versatility, rapid deployment, and global reach. Carriers remain central to this vision, serving not only as platforms for jets, but also as floating command centers, humanitarian response bases, and symbols of national pride. Their importance may change in terms of numbers and design, but the idea behind aircraft carriers, controlling the seas and projecting power, remains as relevant as ever. In conclusion, the story of aircraft carriers is a story of power, strategy, and innovation. From countries that operate dozens of floating fortresses to those that rely on allies or alternative technologies, carriers continue to shape the world's oceans. They represent ambition, strength, and the ability to influence events across the globe. Whether through massive nuclear-powered giants or smaller, more flexible vessels, aircraft carriers remain icons of naval dominance and key players in the balance of global power. As nations continue to innovate and expand their fleets, the world will watch closely, because wherever carriers sail, the rules of the seas are on display.